There is a version of today's sky that most horoscopes will not show you, and if you are an archer, it involves two completely different planets pulling you in two directions at once, and somehow, both of them are right. Stay with me, because by the end of this you will understand exactly which pull to follow, and when. Let us start with what is actually happening above you today. The moon has moved into Aquarius, and in your chart that puts it directly in your third house, the house of communication, ideas, quick thinking, and the people you casually text more than you call. That alone would make today a chatty, mentally alive kind of day. But there is a second piece that changes the whole equation. This Aquarius moon is forming a trine to Mars, which is currently sitting in your seventh house, the house of partnership, contracts, and one-on-one alliances. Trine is the easy aspect, the one where two planets cooperate instead of clash. So what you have, in plain terms, is your thinking mind and your partnership instincts working in harmony rather than in conflict. That is not a small thing for a sign that often feels torn between wanting company and wanting to run free. Underneath that daily weather sits a slower, more personal pattern, a longer transit touching your relationship sector that has been quietly asking you to look at how much freedom your closest partnerships actually allow. Not everyone feels this the same way. For some Sagittarians, it shows up as restlessness in a romantic bond. For others, it surfaces in any close alliance where you have started to feel boxed in, or conversely, so unmoored that you do not know what next week even looks like. This is a longer-running theme, not a one-day event, and today's cooperative Moon-Mars trine happens to land right on top of it, which is exactly why the timing here matters. If you have been feeling like something needs to be said out loud, but you have been putting it off, that instinct is worth trusting today. Pattern interrupt, none, invisible. The mental clarity from the Aquarius moon, paired with Mars's supportive angle in your partnership house, tends to make conversations land better than usual. Agreements get made, misunderstandings get untangled, plans actually stick. One astrologer looking at this purely through the Western lens of house placements would tell you this is a communication and partnership day. A more traditional reading, watching the same alignment, would emphasize that Mars's energy here is active but not aggressive. It wants to build, not battle. Both descriptions are pointing at the same sky. They are just using different vocabulary to say the same thing. Today rewards the conversation you have been avoiding. So bring it to love first, since that is where this energy tends to concentrate hardest for you. If there is a specific tension in a partnership, maybe it is the freedom question that has been simmering. Maybe it is simply a logistical knot that needs untying. Today gives you unusually good conditions to name it without turning it into a courtroom scene. That phrase matters. You are not trying to win an argument here. You are trying to clarify a shared goal. Ask for the conversation directly. If tension surfaces, say what is bothering you plainly, invite an actual solution, agree on a next step, and if you can, follow up in writing so nobody's memory does the negotiating later. For Sagittarians currently wrestling with that deeper freedom versus commitment theme, this is a low-risk window to test the waters, not to force a resolution, but to see how much room actually exists in the relationship for both people's independence. You may notice that the partner who once felt thrillingly unpredictable now reads as unreliable, or that the one who felt safely settled now feels like a cage. Either reaction is wrong. It is simply data. And today's easier communication channel is the tool for turning that data into an actual conversation instead of a silent resentment. Here is the part that carries over neatly into your work life, because the same planetary handshake that helps your relationships also sharpens your thinking. That third house moon puts extra voltage into your mental circuitry today, and with Mars cooperating from the partnership house, this is a genuinely good day to loop other people into whatever you are building. You likely have a small bench of sharp, capable people in your contacts, colleagues, collaborators, that one friend who always sees the angle you missed. Day favors reaching out to them. Whether you are brainstorming a new idea or trying to move a stalled project, this transit suggests that collaboration will outperform solo effort. Capture your best thinking while it is fresh, a voice memo, a notes app, whatever gets the idea down before it evaporates. There is also a reasonable chance you get an opening to pitch something important, and if that happens, the same alliance energy suggests your team is more likely than usual to back you rather than let you carry it alone. That collaborative momentum tends to open a door to something more tangible, and this is where we should talk about money, because the financial thread today is real, but requires a bit of balancing. One tradition, looking at your chart today through a Vedic, sidereal lens rather than the Western tropical one we have been using, reads the same Aquarius moon slightly differently, framing it as a tension between your desires and your duties. Financial gains connected to recent hard work are plausible under this reading, which is a nice payoff if you have been grinding quietly. But the same reading cautions against letting that momentum distract you from responsibilities elsewhere, a bill, a deadline, an obligation you have been half ignoring. If the Western picture says communicate and collaborate, the Vedic picture adds, and do not drop the ball while you are at it. Put those two together, and you get a fuller, more honest snapshot. Today can be genuinely good for your finances and your ideas, as long as you do not let the exciting conversation eclipse the boring commitment sitting quietly on your desk. Now here is the thing that ties this whole day together, and it is worth sitting with for a second. The reason today feels like two different pulls, one toward freedom and self-expression, one toward duty and partnership, is not a contradiction in your chart. It is the actual lesson. Sagittarius is the sign built around the search for meaning and open horizons. And yet here you are, being handed a day that rewards structure, clear conversations, written follow-ups, balanced obligations. The truth most people miss is that freedom, for you, does not come from avoiding commitment. It comes from negotiating it well. Every archer who has ever felt trapped by a relationship or a responsibility was not actually trapped by the commitment itself. They were trapped by an unspoken one. Today's sky is handing you the tools to make things spoken. That is the whole trick. Let that land for a moment, because it changes how you might approach the rest of your day. If you have been feeling emotionally drained lately, running on a kind of low hum rather than your usual fire, that is worth naming too. You are not imagining it, and it tends to ease rather than persist. Trust your ordinary routines right now rather than abandoning them. Steady rhythms are quietly stabilizing even when they feel unglamorous. There may be someone occupying more of your thoughts than you are letting on, feelings not yet spoken, sitting parallel to the same communication theme running through the rest of the day. You do not have to solve that today. But if a change of scenery presents itself, visiting a friend, stepping outside your usual four walls, it may offer a useful shift in perspective rather than just a distraction. On the wellness side, general grounding practices, a short walk, journaling the conversation you are planning to have, even just sitting quietly before a hard talk, tend to serve you better today than pushing through on nervous energy alone. If you are drawn to color as a small anchor, deep blue is associated in some traditions with clarity and calm communication. It is a low-stakes, safe way to align with the day's themes, not a requirement. And if you ever hear a Vedic practitioner recommend something more specific, a particular gemstone, a mantra tied to Saturn or another planet, treat that as advice for an individual chart, not a blanket prescription. Real gemstone work requires someone to actually look at your birth chart, not just your sun sign. This same steadying energy extends naturally into home and family. Conversations that felt stuck with relatives or roommates may loosen today, riding the same communicative current that is helping everything else. If there is a family matter needing a clear word rather than an assumption, this is a fair window to raise it. Socially, the pull toward your wider circle, the brainiacs, the collaborators, the old friends, is strong, and leaning into that community rather than isolating tends to serve you better than solitude would today. If travel crosses your mind, even something small like a day trip or an unplanned visit, it fits the day's theme of shifting your vantage point to see a situation more clearly. Spiritually, today is not asking for grand gestures. It is asking for honesty in small doses, the quiet decision to say the true thing instead of the comfortable thing, in a relationship, in a meeting, in your own head, when you are negotiating with yourself about what freedom actually means to you. If you want the quick version for later, your color leans deep blue. Your window of best luck sits between 3 and 6 in the afternoon, and your theme for the day is one honest conversation. So if there is one thing to walk away with, let it be this. Have the conversation you have been circling. Say the shared goal out loud instead of assuming the other person already knows it. Write down the plan once you agree on it, so nobody has to rely on memory later. And when you feel that old Sagittarius itch for freedom rising up against whatever commitment is in front of you, remember that today's sky is not asking you to choose between the two. It is showing you that the clearest conversation you have all day might be the thing that finally makes room for both. That is not a small shift. It is the kind of day worth remembering the next time freedom and connection feel like they are pulling you apart, because today proved they do not have to.